it's often said the more famous the artist, the greater the scrutiny, the bigger the name, the greater the criticism. Something similar is playing out in Indian cricket as well, and the latest superhero to face a trial by fire is none other than Virat Kohli. In today's edition of Lights, Camera and Cricket, we look at how Virat has been caught up in a man-made storm that has threatened to derail his T20 ambitions. But like all champions do, Virat reinvented himself at the age of 35 and has now managed to stage an incredible comeback, silencing his critics along the way. Here's the entire story. That Virat was an exceptional T20 player was clear from the beginning. He, after all, can be credited for playing some of the greatest knocks in the history of the format. His 82 of just 51 balls in the quarterfinals of the 2016 World Cup against Australia was one such masterclass. Then his 82 of 53 against Pakistan 2 years ago at the T20 World Cup, where he took India to a win from an absolute impossible situation, is what legends are made of. Clearly, one of the greatest T20 innings ever, if not the greatest. Yet, despite his repeated match-winning performances, Virat was faced with an unlikely situation the last few years, where India's greatest match winner had to answer questions about his intent, his strike rate and overall utility in the T20 format, leading to some critics to even questioning his place in the Indian T20 team for the upcoming T20 World Cup.
My name is nowadays quite attached to just promoting the game in many parts of the world when it comes to T20 cricket, but I've still got it, I guess.
Now, while Virat's fiery personality ensured that he wasn't going to shy away from hitting back at his detractors, but heart of heart, he must have known that the pressure was on and that he would need to let his bat do the talking. The issue this time wasn't his form or the volume of runs. In fact, it was seldom that he had any issue with these sort of things. This time, the goalpost had been shifted and the focus was on his strike rate. How would Virat respond? Well, this is how he did. Well, he started off on a good note, stamping his authority with a century, his 8th in IPL history in the game versus Rajasthan Royals. While his knock did rejuvenate his fan base, it did precious little to impress the priest of cricket. After all, his team RCB lost, and once again the strike rate charge stuck to him.
Down the ground, launched it.
And that charge wasn't going away so easily, and unfortunately for Virat, his knock versus Sunrisers Hyderabad gave enough fodder to the critics to keep him under scrutiny. Though this time his team won, but Kohli's half-century at a strike rate of 118 did stick out as a sore thumb.
If you have a strike rate of 118, you come and face the first ball, and then you get out in the 14th or the 15th over and your strike rate is 118. I mean, if you want applause for that, that's a little bit different. Then that's different.
I'm not questioning Virat Kohli as a player. He's an outstanding player, but in this format, there are other batters that are above him.
Even West Indies legend Ian Bishop, who was behind the mic as Kohli played that knock, later had to go back on his word, admitting that his choice of words was inaccurate. We'll show you what exactly he said during commentary. Bishop said that while he was praising Kohli's half-century, but later realized that it was slow based on current T20 standards. Now, despite trying to shake off the criticism and putting up a brave face, VK18 now found himself in an unfamiliar position. The darling of the cricketing universe was now being questioned about his effectiveness in the game's shortest format, a format he had ruled for years. While for many, Virat and his fans, these had been unusual circumstances, but he wasn't the first legend of the game to have his greatness questioned. His idol Sachin Tendulkar, the great Sunil Gavaskar, and to an extent even his first captain MS Dhoni all had to face such trials by fire in their careers. The question now was, how was Virat, the quintessential gladiator, going to claw his way back from this abyss? And then, halfway through the season, King Kohli did what he does best. Changed the game quite literally this time. In a game against Punjab Kings, Kohli turned down the screws on the opposition bowlers and slammed a blistering 92 of just 47 balls. His strike rate was at a staggering 195. This was followed up with a few more knocks where the RCB opener threw caution to the wind and upped the ante with his intent and strike rate.
A half century. Another one.
Yeah, it was important to keep up my strike rate through the innings, so I was just focused on taking the momentum forward for the team.
Now look at Kohli's numbers this year shows how he's adapted and embraced the changing nature of T20 cricket. His strike rate this year stands at 155, which is his highest ever. Compare it to the last 4 years, where it ranged from 119 to 140. The uptick is clearly visible and makes for greater reading when you realize that he's upped the ante without compromising on the volume of runs. That has been top all throughout.
स्ट्राइक रेट बहुत बातें होती है आजकल स्ट्राइक रेट पे कोहली के पीछे लोग पड़े हुए हैं स्ट्राइक रेट अरे भाई बतौर ओपनर 7 ओवर और 15 ओवर के बीच में स्लो होना ही है ये ऑब्वियस बात है स्पिनर का जो इकोनॉमी है नीचे होता है फास्ट बॉलर से क्यों होता है क्योंकि बीच के ओवर डालते हैं वो
विराट कोहली क्या कमाल की बैटिंग की है देखिए अगर आप देखेंगे बहुत सारे सवाल उठते हैं विराट कोहली की स्ट्राइक रेट पे मैं बार बार कहता हूं इस सीजन के भाई वो बंदे के सर पे ऑरेंज कैप है मतलब औसत कमाल का उसी के साथ स्ट्राइक रेट 150 के आसपास इसके जहन में ना हमेशा स्ट्राइक रेट नहीं रहती है इसके जहन में रहती है कि रन्स का पीछा कैसे करना है टीम को जिताना कैसे इसी वजह से इसे कहते हैं चेज मास्टर
I mean, he's a champion batter. He's the best batsman in the world. I don't think that there are any questions when it comes to his capability. He's been batting at about 140 through the tournament. So, I would say he's just the best batsman.
To be fair, Virat on his return to T20I cricket earlier this year versus Afghanistan showed glimpses of what he intends to do for India. Aware of the chatter and the demands of the game, Kohli could be seen attacking the bowling from the word go, even though he has scores of 0 and 29 in the 2 matches he played. But for a batter who guarantees truckloads of runs with his measured approach, his uncharacteristic dismissals were a sign of him adapting to the high-risk approach already adopted by batters across the globe. Now, at a time when most of India's World Cup bound batters in Rohit, Yashasvi, Surya to a certain extent and Hardik are not setting the IPL stage on fire, Kohli's consistency and renewed approach to the game is nothing short of a breath of fresh air. And if India are to do well in the T20 World Cup, they will need this version of Virat Kohli, a Kohli who scores big and a Kohli who knows how to take the attack to the opposition. And as things stand, the man who was the country's best T20 batter for a long time is reinventing himself to stay as the very best.